do whatever it is that you all love to do together. Do it together. Instead of, she's got her bridge and I've got my golf. She's going to be with her friends with bridge and I'm going to be with my friends with golf. No, find what it is that you jointly love to do together and do those things together, because you don't know how long. Because, as you know, the disease progress varies from 2 years to 20 years, with the average being 8. And,
right.
You don't know. You don't know what your situation is. You don't know, what genes you might have previously. You don't know the lifestyle that you led previously, how much sleep you had previously, and all those things factor in to how long you're going to make it through this journey.
Welcome to the Alz Authors Podcast. We're so glad you found us. We're the global community of authors writing about Alzheimer's and dementia from personal experience to light the way for others. I'm Mary Ann Shuko, a registered nurse, author, and dementia daughter.
And I'm Christy Byrne-Yates, a licensed educational psychologist, dementia daughter, Alz author, and coach focused on the sandwich generation. Please join us for bi-weekly episodes with our authors as we talk about their dementia journeys, sharing intimate details and painfully obtained knowledge to help others currently on that path.
We hope these stories offer you comfort and support as we strive to break the silence and stigma surrounding a dementia diagnosis.
May one of our authors speak to your experience.
This is the Whole Care Network. Helping you tell your story one podcast at a time. Content presented in the following podcast is for information purposes only. Views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the host and guest and may not represent the views and opinions of the Whole Care Network. Always consult with your physician for any medical advice, and always consult with your attorney for any legal advice. And thank you for listening to the Whole Care Network.
Hi, I'm Anne of Alz Authors. When I was caring for my mother with dementia, I searched long and hard for memoirs and personal stories about other caregivers' experiences. I wanted to know not just how other people survived, but how they thrived. Unfortunately, at the time, there was not much available. That's why we created the bookstore at alzauthors.com. Now, busy caregivers can easily browse for just the right resource to guide them on their journey. Books are categorized by relationship and type of dementia, as well as genre. You'll find a helpful title in just minutes using our search tool. So, after the podcast, take a few moments to visit our bookstore at alzauthors.com/bookstore. Remember, you are not alone.
Hi, Christy. Welcome back.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine. It's good to be together again on our podcast series. And today we have a really special guest, Tony Copeland-Parker. He's been on the podcast before, telling us his story about running all over the world, which is the name of his book. Running all over the world with his partner, Catherine, in their race against early onset Alzheimer's and trying to see as much of the world as they can while running marathons together. And he has a very exciting story.
It's absolutely amazing. And I think it's such a cool story to be telling people. And I've watched the video that he did, and it's so inspiring. I mean, just so moving. And I love it that they're out there just living life and trying to just, get into it as much as they can. And what an inspiring, thoughtful way to share this through a book and a video and get people to think about that. So I'm excited to talk to Tony too.
Yeah, he certainly has a lot of good advice to share with caregivers for a loved one with dementia, whether it's their spouse or even a parent. So, let's talk to Tony.
Yeah, great.
All right, let's go. Hi, Tony. Welcome back to the All's Authors podcast. How are you today?
I'm doing fabulous, and I'm glad to be back. And thank you very much for the invite.
Well, we're so glad to have you come back to update us on the recent changes in your life and how your journey with Kat is proceeding. I know you have a lot to share, and it may surprise people to know that you are now kind of staying in one place, whereas before you were quite the nomads all over the world. Can you talk to us a little bit about that? How did that happen?
Yes, we actually have an address now. As opposed to a room number at a Marriott hotel. About 3 months prior to September, so let's go back to about July, we decided that we could no longer make the overseas trips and the long trips, so we needed to find some place to settle down. Settling down in my mind was still traveling somewhat, every other weekend, but still having a place that we can call home. So we went through the process. A lot of people that I know talk about the fact that they usually find somewhere close to a relative, a family member. And so I started looking at, Catherine has a daughter in Bloomington. She has some family in the Indiana area, Jeffersonville. I have a son in Harrisonburg, Virginia, one in San Diego, and then I have a daughter here in Atlanta. Then also, I was thinking about the fact that we used Delta for our travels in the Atlanta area, and we had our doctors here. So it all came together that it would probably be a good idea to settle down and stay in the Atlanta area. Then where do we find someplace, and what type of facility are we going to look for? As you know, there's basically 3 types of independent living. There's assisted living, and then, of course, there's memory care for those that have advanced stages of Alzheimer's. So we looked at different properties around, and we gravitated towards the Roswell area, Alpharetta, Marietta area north of Atlanta. It's about 30 miles north, and found it to be very amenable to us. And we found this property called Brookdale Senior Living Solutions in Roswell. One of the things I really liked about it was that it was a very nice property that was had a half-mile sidewalks around, close by neighborhoods. It was off the beaten track, so it wasn't a lot of traffic going by, but still you had restaurants, you had grocery stores and things like that nearby. So we decided to stay here. And then the only other decision is to what phase of their property were we going to stay in, independent, assisted living, or memory care. Unfortunately, when we first approached them here, they were trying to push us into the memory care section of their facility, because that's normally what people do. You have someone that has Alzheimer's and you need that type of level of care. But I felt that I could do most of the things for Catherine, so why pay for something that I don't actually need? And also, it's a very, I would say, depressing situation living in that area. I have visited some previously, so we had a discussion back and forth with the folks here, and they allowed us to start off in the independent living section, which works out great. It's a rather large facility. They have about 300 residents under roof. That includes the 20 beds of assisted living. And then the memory care building is separate. They have another 20 beds over there. So there's a lot of folks here, and which means there's a lot of areas under roof that you can walk. So we walk out our door, and there I charted it out. There's about 2 miles of carpeted corridors in the facility, which includes couches so you could stop and rest. There's beautiful pictures on the walls. There's flowers. And then, of course, you have all your residents that have decorated their areas right outside their doorways. So we have really good walking opportunities, both indoors and outdoors. There's a lot of trees that they left up, flowers. There's an outdoor pool So we really, really enjoy the facility here and glad we made the decision. And it's been working out well. There are some folks that are a little apprehensive about, Catherine and her stage of Alzheimer's, but then there's others that come up and talk to her and give her a big hug. So it works out really good. And I found some folks to help me. I've had to transition into not trying to do it all myself. And I have some folks, but it's kind of funny because what ended up happening as I was interviewing them, I told them, I said, well, so it's a 4-hour shift in the morning, 9 to 1, you're going to be walking 2 miles an hour. You do the math. What? Oh, no. So there was a lot of no's that went along with that. Some folks wouldn't even come out to look. But as we went around and went through the people, I was able to find some folks that were like, oh, good, I wanted to get back in shape, or, I'm in good shape. And, they come in and the first thing they do is out the door they go. Whether it's, indoors or outdoors, they're getting in about 6 to 8 miles. And then I take over in the afternoons and we get in another couple of miles. And then after dinner, we do a couple more. So she's actually walking about 8 to 10 miles a day.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah. That's very great. Yeah.
But it's all sporadic. Sure. She'll have to walk some and she'll have to take a break, and she'll walk some and take a break. But it's been working out great for us. And I'm glad we made that decision to make that change. And we've been here since September. So it's been about 8 months that we've been in this facility.
Okay.
Wow, that's wonderful. Now, I wanted to ask you, with her, if she were to go into the memory care part of the facility, that you would not be able to go with her. Is that correct? You would be separated.
So, interesting question. The director here stated that he had set aside a 2-bedroom for folks that wanted to go with their spouse.
Oh, okay.
So he does have folks that do that. However, there are folks that are living here that are visiting their loved one over in the memory care. So they go over every day and visit. Right. So typically that's what you do. However, I will say that it is highly discouraged for folks to do that. It's very tough on the individual that has all their cognition that goes with that.
Right. I would imagine that would be difficult for you, and that's hard. Yeah.
So the plan is for that not to happen, that for me to be able to do everything I need to do here within the independent living situation.
That's great.
Yeah, but I think it's nice to know you have this plan B and plan C in place in the event, without too much disruption.
That's true. And if something should happen to me, what are we going to do? I have to go to the hospital, something like that.
Right.
And the whole plan is that she would transition there. I would still have helpers come in. So she would have that familiarity. So that's the plan there.
Sounds like you've got it all figured out.
Oh, yes, absolutely. You have it figured out for today. And then tomorrow's a different
That's
day.
Right.
We have to.
My experience is most people, they've got nothing figured out, until they reach a point where they have to do some decision making, like right now. And then they need to figure it out. And I think Christy is involved, knows about that.
Yeah, I would. That's absolutely what I would say. It was so, really impressive, and I admire your choices. This is a tough choice for you to, in some ways change the way you saw yourself in your life right now. But that's why I like how you describe sort of that continuum, right? And then you have choices, right? You have choices along the way, and that you're thinking about the future. And of course, in all the best case scenarios, you want to be there, and just to be there with Catherine and ride this out. And yet, should something be different, you don't have to make a mad shuffle, right? You don't have to make a mad shuffle to find something. And then so many of these places have waiting lists anyway. So it's really, it's that preparing is really important. So good on you for that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I credit it to the 37 years of flying planes all over the world. When I used to teach also, I used to tell the folks I was teaching, always stay in the cockpit. In other words, stay with the aircraft as opposed to reacting to what the aircraft is doing.
Yes.
Try to stay ahead of it. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to stay ahead of, and, research and learning what the next stages are and what to expect. So I can prepare for what's coming down the pipe.
For sure.
Yep.
That's great.
Yeah, that's very good advice, I think, for a lot of people. Can you just backtrack a little bit and give the listeners an overview of how you and Catherine first handled the dementia diagnosis and about your travels and running? Absolutely.
So we're going to go back to 2013 when I first started noticing there was a problem. And as you know, a lot of the folks that have this situation come up, they're in their prime of their life. She was 52 at the time. And I was trying to explain to her that there was some problem going on. And of course, she told me that I didn't know what I was talking about. Everything was perfectly fine. Fortunately or unfortunately, she started having problems at her work. And then, since she was running the risk of losing her job, I was able to impress upon her the fact that we really need to find out what's going on. So she agreed to go see some neurologists, and we had the testing done. And in April of 2014, she was diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's, or as they call it, light condition. So as you know, you can't actually tell exactly what it is until after the autopsy. But we're going with EOA, and that works fine for us. At the same time, I was a pilot, and I was taking my regular physical when I found out that I had a leaking aortic valve. So just about the same time that she was diagnosed, I went in and I had open heart surgery and had the valve replaced. We were running marathons at the time, and we thought everything was lovely. We were going to have a fabulous life, but then this upended everything, and we looked at what we wanted to do. We knew a couple of things, which was we love to travel. We love to run marathons, half marathon, road races, and we loved each other. So we decided that let's find something that we could do together and be together and travel. So we sold our home and we retired and we became nomads. And actually our nomadic lifestyle lasted for 8 years. During that time, I was writing for a blog, and I decided to take those writings and make a book. I'm running all over the world, Our Race Against Early Onset Alzheimer's. And I had it published 2 years ago, just about. And I decided that it was a bit thick. It was over 400 pages. So I decided to do some trimming and get a new cover going, and got a new publisher. And just recently, I went ahead and republished the book, and the abridged version. It's doing very, very well. So I'm very happy with it.
Excellent. That's great.
Yeah. It's quite an inspiring story because one of the cardinal rules, I guess, or the recommendations with someone with Alzheimer's is not to change their environment. In a way to keep them stable and comfortable is to, have a set routine and to remain in one place. Right. And you defied all of that. So did you run into any kind of conflict with that, or were people skeptical?
Yes, people were skeptical, especially her family. It's like, what are you doing? Just bring her home to us and we'll, we can see her every day and that kind of thing. Yeah. It's like, no, we're going to enjoy life. And she traveled, like you said, we were doing marathons. We were traveling prior to that. So she was accustomed to that. So in actuality, I looked at it two ways. Travel was our medicine, and also travel was her routine. It was something that she was used to doing. I do not suggest that you're in the later stages of Alzheimer's that you take your loved one and try to put them on an airplane. Yes, that's going to be a bit much. But early on, because, we're talking about 2014, so we're now 9 years into this. And it's a journey. It's not something that you wake up and say, oh, okay, I got Alzheimer's, I'm going to be dead tomorrow. No, we've got a lifelong battle to fight. And we might as well take all the tools that we need to fight the battle.
Right.
Travel, running, exercise, seeing new and exciting things, socializing. A lot of these trips were with tours. So we had the opportunities to socialize with others. We were on cruises. It was kind of funny. So we would, go on a cruise ship, the cruise would dock and everybody would have all these excursions and we would just get off and I would look left, I would look right. I go, okay, let's go right today. And we would get off and we go run to the right and come back around and then get back on the ship and have lunch. So, that's how we looked at it. We enjoyed it. It turns out we visited 82 different countries.
Oh my goodness.
Ran at least a half marathon on 35. Our Catherine was able to accomplish running a marathon in all 50 states. She did that in October of 2020. So that's something that she's well into her diagnosis and was still able to pull that off.
I know many people, when their spouse, their loved one, receives the diagnosis of early onset or mild cognitive impairment, that there's this sense that, life as we knew it is over and we are not going to experience new things more, and people are reluctant to travel. What kind of advice would you give folks like that who maybe had some, dreams of going to Europe or going on a cruise or going to Hawaii, and now all of a sudden they have the sense that this is never going to happen? It's not always fair to the spouse, who would be able to go on that trip, but they're not going to go by themselves. How would you recommend they handle traveling with someone with cognitive impairment?
Well, our experience has been that the travel industry is well trained to handle any and all disabilities. People come on blind, they have their dogs, they can't walk, they got a wheelchair, they have no legs to carry, lift them up, put them in the seat. And even today, and Catherine's in, 6, moving on into the 7th stage of Alzheimer's. They see us coming and they assist in any way. You need a wheelchair. She still walks, so no, but they're right there to ask and to help us getting off the airplane and maneuvering throughout the airport. Security, everybody is just bends over backwards for us. So what I suggest is to get them into the routine of travel being a routine for them. Not necessarily at the breakneck pace that we did of moving every 4 days. But, if you want to go to, out to Hawaii, absolutely. Not a problem. Want to get on a cruise? Absolutely. Not a problem. It is not a problem because, as you know, we start off with mild cognitive and you've got 7 stages we're going to work through. And as I mentioned earlier, we're on 9 years of this. So it's going to be a while before your loved one is going to be in the bed and can't go anywhere. So you might as well go ahead and try to go as long as you can. And we still have trips. We about every 2 weeks, we try to go somewhere. We were just visiting her folks. We're going to go visit my son in Virginia here a little bit. And we still race. I have what is known as the Catmobile. It's an adult-sized stroller that I she walks some, and then when she gets tired, I put her in that. And we just did a race here, 10K race in Beaufort, Georgia, about 30 miles down the road. And we did a 10K race there. And it turns out there's a organization called Ainsley's Angels. And what they do is they provide support. So if you're going to do a race, you sign up and say, I'm going to be here and do a race. They'll send someone to help you push your loved one during the race. Wonderful. Yeah. And so I had a gentleman that showed up and helped us with that race. So it's fabulous. And
that's great.
Like I said, it's just another occasion that you run across if you're looking and you do your research of assistance that people will help you, going through this situation. So
So this is a great question, and I'm so glad you asked it, Marianne. And I wanted to know from you, Tony. You know, you're an airline professional, so you kind of know the ins and outs. Would you recommend people letting the airline staff know what's going, this is my loved one, this is the situation? Because, I'm thinking about disorientation just going through security or things like that. Now, I've worked with a lot of people with disabilities, and that's a recommendation I have, is let people know, right, so that they can, they're so busy doing their thing. And when you alert them to, here's the situation, confidentially, as kindly as you can tell them, that can be helpful, right? So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, we don't do it. I've never have, but I've had discussions with airlines and hotels about that. And they say that it's real easy. You call up and you just let them know, and they'll put it in your record. If you want in your record, and then it'll follow you to whatever flights that you take with that airline, or you can just alert them the day of that this is what's going to happen. Sure. And it's just like asking for a wheelchair.
Yeah.
You go in and you say, I need a wheelchair and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But Catherine's at the stage now that you can pretty much look and see that there's something going on. And also look at in my level of assistance that something's going on. And they just jump to it. And it's just absolutely, it actually brings tears to my eyes sometimes.
Yeah.
The way that they did over backwards to help. I had a situation where we were going down to St. Kitts last summer. And I had stroller, and it was in a bag, and I had bags, and I had her, and, pulled up the sky cap. And the gentleman just took it from there. He got the bags, he took, called the wheelchair. He took us to the head of the line at the ticket agent. The wheelchair took us to the head of the line at the gate. It was just, I just sat back and, followed along because, like I said, they are trained to do this.
Yes.
This is part of their training.
That's great.
Folks like that.
Good to know. Good to know. Yeah.
That is great. Do you have any type of device or tracker that she wears when you're out and about and traveling? So in the event that you were to be separated, you could find her quickly?
No. No, I don't, because I have hands-on the whole time we're out in public.
Okay.
There's hands-on. And also the fact of the matter is I'm very distinguishable. So, if we get separated, and then also I have pictures of my phone of who she looks like. I keep track of her wherever we go. So it's not like I've ever had that wandering problem. Yes, she does. We'll walk somewhere and I take my hand off, and, she wants to go left when I'm trying to go right. But, I know it, and I've been, dealing with this for so long that I know what But yes, it is recommended that you have, and I used to have a bracelet on her that said, during the times when, I did not have hands on all the time.
Right.
That she did have a bracelet. Had my phone number and who I was, who to contact.
Yeah. Now, what about, how would you handle like a restroom situation? Like if you were in an airport and you needed to use the restrooms, do they have restrooms for that, accommodate two people together? Or?
It turns out that concourse, I think it is C here in Atlanta, is the only concourse that does not have a family restroom room, which was surprising. But what we do is I take her into the male. If that's the case, I take her into the male bathroom and go into the stall and do what we need to do and rush right back out. So that's not a problem. That's how we handle that situation. So but really good.
And you mentioned family restrooms, and that would be a point for some people to know that you can use those. So that's great. Yes. Yeah. And unfortunately, like you said, the one concourse.
Right. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. It was like, customer service. Yeah, I don't know what happened here, but that's what happened. But yeah, normally what I do is I'm looking right away when we arrive at the airport. Because what we like to do is we arrive early and we walk walk. Walked in. So when she gets on the airplane, she's not so agitated for having to be confined to a seat for an hour and a half to 2 hours. So, and then, I had a flight attendant, once walking down the aisle and people were still coming on. And she looked at Catherine and she was a little agitated. She went and got her a snack, came back with, hey, try this. Need a straw, like, for example, who would think that, that would be something, but they knew that, drinking probably was a little bit difficult and the straw is a lot easier for folks like her. So they were offering a straw. So
that's great.
They've got it all figured out. And yes, everybody I talk to, I recommend you try to get out and start traveling right away. Go see those places that you wanted to see together. Yeah. And more importantly, do whatever it is that you all love to do together, do it together. Instead of, she's got her bridge and I've got my golf. She's going to be with her friends with bridge and I'm going to be with my friends with golf. No, find what it is that you jointly love to do together and do those things together, because you don't know how long. Because, as you know, the disease progress varies from 2 years to 20 years, with the average being 8. And, you don't know. You don't know what your situation is. You don't know, what genes you might have previously, the lifestyle that you led previously, how much sleep you had previously, and all those things factor in to how long you're going to make it through this journey.
Now, when you first encountered this diagnosis, did you have any imagining of how your life was going to be in another 10 years from now? What were you first thinking when you first got it?
So her father had vascular dementia. So we witnessed that, and we cared for him and went to visit and through all that process. He went to the VA for a while and then went to a nursing home. He actually only lasted about 2 years. So that was my remembrance. And then also, you think about the elderly that are in nursing homes and things like that. So that was another part of my life experience. So I did not know, but I'm thinking 2 years, maybe that's the horizon that we had. So I hit the trail trying to get as much jammed in 2 years as possible. Then I pushed it out to 5 years. And I said, okay, it's probably going to be 5 years, and we're going to stay on the road for 5 years. Because looking at how I had progressed, and then I just keep pushing it out. I said, okay, now I want her to experience her 60th birthday. We're going to go to the Kentucky Derby. It falls on her birthday that year, and let's do that. So we made it to 60. She just had a 62nd birthday. So I keep moving the goalpost a little bit further, and see where we go. My next one is to see if we can make it to 65, and she still knows who I am and still trusts me. She loves me. So those are the things that we do. But if not, then we'll just take it one day at a time and make it as best as possible for her. Make sure that she knows that when she wakes up and she has her day, that it is going to be in her mind an enjoyable day. So,
that's so beautiful. That's really beautiful that you're little chunks. You're thinking that way instead of lots of other things. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. It makes things manageable and keeps a good perspective on the situation rather than like projecting out 10 years from now or whatever. Can you tell us where to find your book?
Everywhere.
Everywhere. Good answer.
Absolutely. You can go to runningwithcat.com. Like I said, I still write to that blog, but right there on the homepage, we're going to have 2 areas you can click on, and it'll take you to either Barnes & Noble or it'll take you to Books A Million to order the book. You can go to Amazon.com, and you can have a choice of whether you want to buy the 400-page version or the 300-page version. The 400-page has a picture of us on it, and the other one is a little bit more artful. I have an offer for your listeners. The first ones to contact you, I will be autographing and sending an autographed copy of the soft copy of the book. And then anyone that contacts me through the Running with Cat, the first 5 folks will get an ebook from me. So
oh, wonderful!
Oh, that's so generous.
That's really nice. Thank you.
Do they need to write that they heard you on the podcast?
Oh no! I mean, it's just the first 5 folks that send a comment. I'm sure the comment will be, I heard you.
Yeah,
we hope they heard you on the podcast. That's awesome.
That'd be great.
Yeah. It's been good. It's been great. Using social media, I've been learning a lot from ALZ authors on how to use the social media and getting the word out. All the folks have just been fabulous, and all the things that we've done together. The poems that we listened to and we read, that was another thing that's so special. So
I want to let listeners know too. If you go to the Alz Authors YouTube channel, you can see the video that you put together. That is just so wonderful, and so you can see Running with Cat is the video that you did. That's terrific. So that's up there too.
Yeah, it took me a while to actually be able to watch it throughout and not cry. And what ended up happening was I put it on the TV. And we're sitting there, having breakfast, and she's eating breakfast. And she heard my voice, and she looked up at the TV, and she just started smiling. I mean, she was having her breakfast, but she was watching it. I said, well, if I can get a reaction out of her on that, I need to get that out. So,
yeah, it's beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Tony. Is there anything else you'd like to tell our listeners before we say goodbye?
Just 2 things I want to reiterate. One is don't chase rabbit holes trying to find a cure. Enjoy and spend time and do the things that you love to do together. Do those things together and cherish the moment. Everybody's journey is different. We don't know how long it might be, but at the same time, in every journey, you can enjoy it along the way. So that's all.
Yes, that's wonderful advice. Thank you so much.
You're quite welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Thank you for listening to Untangling Alzheimer's and Dementia, an Alz Authors podcast. For more details on this episode, please see the show notes. If you enjoyed the podcast, please leave a review and subscribe to it on whichever platform you use to listen to your favorite podcasts. For more information on Alz Authors, please visit alzauthors.com. While you're there, be sure to browse our online bookstore, where you will find hundreds of carefully vetted books on Alzheimer's and dementia. You can also find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Please email your thoughts on the podcast to alzauthors@gmail.com. We are a 501c3 charitable organization, totally reliant on donations to do what we do. If our authors' stories move you, please consider contributing to our cause. Remember, you are not alone. One can sing a lonely song, but we chose to form a choir and create harmony.
Hi, I'm Jean Lee from Alz Authors. All the resources we offer at alzauthors.com, including this podcast, are brought to you free of charge. Our management team is a dedicated group of passionate volunteers who earn no financial compensation. But to continue our mission to provide valuable resources to dementia caregivers, we need the support of listeners like you. If you'd like to support us, please make a donation at alzauthors.com/donate. We are a 501c3 organization. Remember, you are not alone.